For all of our fellow Americans in Texas and even on the Louisiana border in the Lake Charles area, that their difficult recovery will be less difficult by including faith and help of all Americans in making things improve over a period of time. We also pray for our brothers and sisters in the Florida area and all of the islands that the storm has already devastated. So we pray for everyone's safety and that they'll have the fortitude to make a good comeback together. We thank you, Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge of Allegiance by the Honorable David Fitzgerald.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining us for the monthly. No, I'm sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for the monthly meeting of St. Tammany Parish Council. As always, we appreciate your input and participation on the legislative process. If you would like to make a comment concerning any item on the agenda, please feel free to fill out a yellow speaker's card and return them to the staff member or to the designated baskets. Also, if you want to speak on any of the appeals, please fill out one of the blue cards. We also ask that you continue to stay informed about your parish government and subscribe to the parish's email blast. Parish government delivers its news directly to your email inbox. There are sign-up sheets for our email blast under the television screens here in the front. You can also go to the parish government website, STPG-TV.org, and click on the words "Be in the Know" on the right-hand side of the home page. In addition to email blast, you can also get updates on the parish social media sites, Facebook and Twitter. These are usually helpful in getting updates during a disaster. And lastly, you can always watch our meetings on the Parish Access channel on demand from our website, stpgov.org. Thank you all, and I will now ask the clerk to please call the roll. How do we turn her on? Wait a minute, how do we turn all that on?
I got it. Gentlemen and ladies, if you would, please, if you have not pushed it, push the red button on the bottom left of your screen. Thank you. Mr. Dean? Here. Mr. Fitzgerald? Here. Mr. Thompson? Here. Mr. Lorino? Here. Mr. Toledano? Present. Ms. Blanchard?
Present.
Mr. Stefanczyk?
Present.
Mr. Tanner? Here. Mr. Groby? Here. Mr. Canulet? Here. Mr. Belisario? Here. Ms. O'Brien? Here. Mr. Bender? Here. Mr. Smith? Here. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Under special items, public hearing and board of review, in accordance with the provisions of LARS 47-1992, the St. Tammany Parish Council hereby convenes in a public session as a board of review to entertain complaints and other appeals from any taxpayers aggrieved by ad valorem assessments levied against their property. The assessor of St. Tammany Parish has duly advertised notice of this public hearing in accordance with the law. The deadline for receipt of appeals by taxpayers to the Board of Review will be 4:30 p.m. September 7th, 2017. If no appeals are lodged by this date, or appeals are lodged but resolved through the parish assessor's office, the time will automatically expire and terminate without the need for the parish council to reconvene to so declare. I also would ask Mr. Henderson, we do have dates set up for the hearings and what are those dates? That's September 18th and 19th, or?
Yes.
Okay, September 18th and 19th. Go ahead, Don.
It will either be September 18th.
How do we get this thing turned on?
I'm on. Depending upon the number of appeals that we receive, there may be 1 or 2 evenings. At the moment, we've only received 26 appeals. If we continue to only receive half a dozen or a dozen more, we will probably try to do them in one evening, which will be either the 18th or the 19th.
Thank you. Under presentations, we have a presentation. Employee of the Month, Pat Brister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want you to say hello to 3 of the hardest working people I've ever known in my life. They are amazing, the amount of work that they do every day for this parish, and do it well, as you will hear. Whereas each of these Employee of the Month recipients have been dedicated employees with St. Tammany Parish government and have displayed exemplary service. Annie Perkins as Assistant Director of Finance, Laura Lyons currently as Senior Accounting Manager, and Faith Sheldon as Capital Accountant and Data Management Manager. And whereas they have worked for years to bring to fruition the implementation of the Enterprise Resource Planning Program that will bring more efficiency to St. Tammany Parish government by the integration of applications to more effectively manage day-to-day business, and have notably invested such diligence that their efforts have been a major factor in achieving this project's successful launch. And whereas Annie and Laura have been instrumental in the Finance Department's award of the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting from the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada for 13 years in a row. This is the highest form of recognition in the area of governmental accounting and financial reporting. And whereas Faith has been instrumental in serving the data analysis needs of administration and all parish departments, providing effective solutions and accessible information necessary to achieve reporting, departmental, and organizational objectives. And whereas they are outstanding and exemplary employees, each demonstrating excellence in applying knowledge and expertise across multiple tasks and projects. And we are extremely proud and fortunate to have them on the St. Tammany Parish government team. Now, therefore, I, Patricia Brister, as president of St. Tammany Parish, do hereby recognize the hard work and accomplishments of Annie Perkins, Laura Lyons, and Faith Sheldon as Employees of the Month, September 2017. And I repeat this every month, but I cannot tell you how much I mean this. I encourage all employees of St. Tammany Parish to thank them for their contributions and commitment to St. Tammany Parish. They are amazing women. Thank you all very much. Annie and Faith.
Thank you.
Can you come and have a picture? Thank you guys very much.
Thank you. President Brister, I think you have the next presentation to Jan Roberts.
Yes, could I ask Jan and Gaden if you'd like to come up with Jan? Come on up. I know you'd like for him to be here. Here again, it is such an honor for me to read this proclamation to someone that's so deserving. Whereas for decades, Jan Robert has been an active leader and social advocate in our community and has served on the St. Tammany Housing and Homeless Alliance as board vice president of the National Alliance on Mental Illness, St. Tammany, as a board member of the Florida Parish's Human Services Authority, and also served as a community development consultant to St. Tammany Parish government. just to name a few of the things she's done. Whereas Jan served as project manager and was the driving force behind the St. Tammany Behavioral Health Task Force, a task group created to address the state of mental health in our community. And whereas Jan served an instrumental role in the ongoing development of Safe Haven, St. Tammany's behavioral health campus that will provide a full continuum of care and a collaborative healing environment for the ongoing mental health crisis facing not only St. Tammany Parish, but our neighboring parishes as well. And whereas Jan Robert has spent a lifetime serving St. Tammany Parish and has made a profound impact on our community. The community thanks her for her hard work, dedication, and devotion to service. Now, therefore, I, Patricia Brister, as president of St. Tammany, do hereby recognize the hard work and accomplishments of Jan Robert, and I also encourage the citizens of St. Tammany Parish to thank her for a lifetime of distinguished service to our community. We wish her well in her much-deserved retirement, and we miss you already. Thank you, Jan, for everything.
Thank you all.
You want to say good thanks? You want to speak for one word? There you go. Gaden, come over with you get in the middle. There we go. Thank you, Jan, very much. If you'd like to say a couple words, please do. Okay.
Thank you. I just really want to say thank you for the opportunity. Thank you to my honorable council members as well as to President Brister and her administrative staff. I've had the unique opportunity to work with each one of you all in many different capacities on many of these different projects, and none of this would have been possible without your driving force and influence and our collective brains coming together to make all this happen. So thank you. I always appreciate the opportunity to work together with all of you, and I appreciate the recognition this evening. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You know, I have to say, citizens like Jan, they're truly service-oriented and public servants. I know that's what makes this parish so great, because we have people like Jan out there doing the work that she does.
Next one is a presentation to VFW Post 8280.
8290.
82, what is 80?
Sure, come on up.
Just the president.
Whoever you want, whoever you want. Come on up.
Come
Come on up. You all worked very hard, so
My agenda says
come on by.
8280.
The president
Some
should
over
get by
here.
you.
Come over here.
The commander. He's the commander.
I don't have her. She gave it. She did.
Maybe somebody.
Yeah, there's some room down here. Come on down this way. Yeah.
You didn't know we were bringing the whole post, did you?
That's okay. You deserve it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Sure. So while they gather here, obviously, we hold our veterans in such esteem here in St. Tammany Parish, so I'm very proud to be able to offer this proclamation. Whereas since its establishment at the turn of the 19th century, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, VFW, has been committed to securing rights and benefits for veterans, and since then, the VFW's voice has been instrumental in establishing the Veterans Administration, creating a GI Bill for the 20th century and the development of the National Cemetery System, just to name a few. And whereas on July 22nd through 26, 2017, the 118th VFW National Convention was held in New Orleans, Louisiana, where approximately 10,000 VFW and auxiliary members from all over the world convened at the Ernest M. Morial Convention Center. And whereas the Davis Morin Memorial VFW Post 8290 from Lacombe, Louisiana, was awarded several commendations, including the VFW All-American National Post Award, the National Outstanding Community Service Award, the State Outstanding Community Service Post Award, and the All-State Award. In addition, Post Commander Pat Dempsey received the title and award of Captain All-State Team, And whereas the Davis Morin Memorial VFW Post 8290 has been giving and caring for its members and has made a positive impact on our community. St. Tammany Parish and the community thanks them for their hard work, dedication, and devotion to service. Now, therefore, I, Patricia Brister, as president of St. Tammany Parish, do hereby recognize and celebrate the establishment and accomplishments of the Davis Morin Memorial VFW Post 8290, and I encourage all citizens to thank them and all veterans for their service and their continued contributions to our community. Please stand and recognize all of our veterans today. Can you get this? Yeah, put that wide angle lens on. Gene. Thank you guys for everything you do. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That's ours.
Pat, if you'll just stay there. Pat, you need to just stay there for the next two presentations.
I have another presentation?
There you go, Scout.
I don't have another presentation.
No, we have. You got,
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Mr. Willie Bryce would like to say one word.
Oh, okay.
And let me say, I've worked with him since we started the President's VMAC. He has been amazing at the amount of work he does. So he's a great supporter of this parish. So,
No, I just wanted to say that I want to thank President Brister and the council because the presentation award actually goes to you all because you all took a chance on the VMAC. And I just want to say that we have a person who is the VFW vice commander for the state. He's in Kansas. He's also from this parish, and he couldn't be here tonight. He's in Washington with the national person. And also, this is the only VFW post in the nation that got the award, and it was from St. Tammany Parish. And so the thanks go to you all for being behind us and supporting us, and we appreciate it. And thank you.
thank you. We have a, Mr. Belisario and Ms. Brister will present an Eagle Scout. Matt Bald.
Okay. This is a certificate of recognition to Matthew Bald. The Parish Council desires to acknowledge the youth of this parish for their positive achievements and accomplishments, in particular those who choose to remain in school, participate in their religious convictions, are morally and community conscious, and actively pursue productive lifestyles. With the constant media exposure given to the negative youth behavior, it is time we acknowledge the younger generation of this parish who are honest, law-abiding, and promote positive attitudes. The Parish Council is proud to recognize a young man who has not been overcome by negative peer pressure, one who knows that perseverance and commitment can achieve goals. A young man who has been an active member of the Boy Scouts of America, Troop 315, and completed the requirements worthy of the rank of Eagle Scout. Matthew has earned a total of 45 merit badges, has worked over 100 service hours, attended 18 long-term camps, one which was high adventure, and went to National Youth Leadership training twice. His Eagle Scout project was an educational outreach for non-point source pollution by placing over 200 markers on storm drains in Turtle Creek subdivision. He worked hard to obtain approval from the parish government and the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality. Parish Council recognizes Mr. Matthew Bald. Thank you. One of the things I wanted to tell you, I was in from the beginning, watching him putting together PowerPoint presentations to the Turtle Creek Homeowners Association. He did it at the beginning, he did it at the end. He did the coordinating of all the step procedures the different groups had to do. I was to be there for half an hour. I think I spent 6 hours. and it was worth it. It was to see his leadership qualities are fantastic. Here, Matt, you want to say something? Okay. There you go. Come on.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jean. I will have to say, if we don't have the highest percentage of Eagle Scouts in this parish, we're pretty darn close, because we've had so many of these fine young men come up and receive this award, and we're very thankful for them.
I agree with Ms. Brister. I think that, and I have 3 to present tonight with her, and we will have 3 more later on. And they're all from one troop, okay? So that tells you that those guys have been working. And Gene, I'm not going to read through all their accomplishments, but I want to tell you something about Troop 532. 6 years ago, when Ms. Brister got elected, we put on an inaugural ball. And some of you may or may not have been there, you know about it, but we put on an inaugural ball. And we had somebody prepared to escort all the guests down as they came in to their seats. And we had this huge chart that had, you know, we had 1,200 people to seat that night. And they had their specific table and place to seat at that table. A week before the ball, the people that were supposed to do that canceled out on us. I called Susan Riles, and she said, just tell you, Susan, stand up. You might as well come up here too. Susan said, I'll get you the people there. And on the night of the ball, she had the 6 people there, and we had so many compliments about the work that the Boy Scouts did that night. 4 years later, whenever we needed the same thing, I didn't hesitate. I called her and she answered, and I think she's one of the leaders of that scout troop. I'm going to read the 3 guys' names, and they can come up here. I really thank you all for being the scouts, and I think what you end up doing is one of these days, I hope that you're the leaders that sit up here or sit over there in that chair. And I think that's what we're looking for from the young men and or the Girl Scouts, the young women that come through. And that's what we want to see, is you to develop into leaders. I happened to go to a court of honor for one of these scouts, and I was impressed at heck of what all the things that he had accomplished. And I know that the other guys have all done the same thing. So with that, St. Tammany Parish government hereby commends and honors and thanks Eagle Scout Pierre Martin Barrios in recognition for your hard work, commitment, and service to your community. St. Tammany Parish, and to your Boy Scouts troop, American Troop 562. And this one goes to you. You? Thank you. And I'm not going to read the stuff again, but it is Joseph James Kelly. Thank you, Joseph. And this one I know. Okay. Connor Patrick Riles. You know him too, right?
Yeah, I was there.
Connor, thank you very much. Okay, congratulations. You guys just turn around here and we'll get, and then I'd like for the scout leaders to come up. Whoever the scout leaders are that are here, you guys, you're right. Come on up here.
Come
Wait a
on,
minute,
before
wait
they
a minute.
snap.
Let's
Hold
get
on,
the
and there's
scout
Jim.
leaders
Jim's
up.
hiding in the back. Okay. Jim's hiding in the back. You're way too quiet, too.
Let's put the guys in the middle.
Yep, you guys with the big certificates, go in the middle.
Huh?
What's that?
They're the ones that earned it.
Yeah.
Right, put them in the middle.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. Thank you. We're now into the consent calendar. No, we aren't either. We got appointments. Okay. First appointments is resolution to replace the board members of Lake Shore Village Master Community Development District. Ms. Blanchard. Down here, thank you. There we go. I cleared it. You know what? I hit the wrong button. Try it again.
Okay. I'll make a motion to postpone to the next meeting.
Second by Mr. Belisario. Any discussion on the motion to postpone? Seeing none, please vote.
Motion passes, no one absent.
A resolution to appoint members to the St. Tammany Parish Development District. All terms to begin January 1st, 2018. Development District recommends the following: Rhonda Bagley, Sean Burks, Maureen Cleary, Bill Davis, Scott Day, Maura Donahue, Al Hamway, C.J. Ladner, Marty Mayer, Eric Swest, and Mike Tillman. Do I hear a motion? How do I wait a minute. I'm learning how to run this thing. They changed last month.
Hello. All right. Thank you, Steve. Hey, before I make a motion, I want to just say one thing real quick with these announcements that we made earlier. To Mr. Willie and them, when you go on a sure thing, there's no chance it's going to not work. So he does not take enough credit for that. And the other thing is the parents of all these Eagle Scouts that roll through here every month, they don't get enough credit either. So with that being said, I want to make a motion to postpone till next month.
I second.
Oh, seconded by Ms. Blanchard. I was asking. Chris, what was your motion? Okay, motion is to postpone until next month. Second, discussion, anybody? Seeing none, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
We're now in the consent calendar. Motions any items not pulled from the consent calendar are automatically approved in whole by one vote. Items pulled from the consent calendar are discussed and voted upon individually. We have the following to pull. Item number 2, which is ordinance calendar number 5866, and this is ordinance for introduction. Item number 3, calendar number 5867. Item number 10, calendar number 5874. And item number 11, calendar number 5875. Under resolutions, we have the following. Item 1, C 4861. Item 4, C 4864. Item 8, C 4868. And item 9, C 4869. Any other items to be pulled? Mr. Dean? Mr. Fitzgerald? Mr. Thompson? Mr. Lorino? Mr. Toledano? Mr. Tanner? Mr. Grovey? Mr. Canulet? Mr. Belisario? Ms. O'Brien? Mr. Bender? Mr. Smith? Anyone from any? Oh, TJ, thank you.
Under resolutions, item number 4.
We already pulled it? Okay, staff have anybody? No. Anybody in the audience have something? We did have one from the audience, so. Okay. I need a motion to approve the rest of the consent calendar. Motion by Motion by Mr. Toledano, seconded by Mr. Tanner. Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
Okay, item number 2 is 5866, ordinance calendar number to extend for 6 months the moratorium on property within a portion of Bayou Desert Basin and a portion of the Flowers Bayou Basin south of I-12. And this was asked to be pulled by Pat Broccoli. I think it's Broccoli. Mr. Broccoli. Now, how do I get him on the? Mr. Broccoli, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Pat Brackley. I live at 512 Boston Drive, Mandeville, Louisiana. I'm here today on the behalf of Lakeshore Church. Lakeshore Church is located on Brewster Road, approximately a quarter of a mile west of Highway 21. The church is located on 5 acres and was constructed originally in 2009 as a 10,000 square foot facility. At that time, a 3-phase master plan was submitted for approval by the Zoning Commission. It included a traffic study and it had also included a drainage study. The property owners have complied with those requirements. Earlier this year, they submitted for a permit for a 2,800 square foot addition. The addition will make the whole facility 12,800 square feet on 5 acres. We're asking to be excluded because we feel we'd already been approved for the work that we're going to do under a 3-phase proposal when we initially submitted for the zoning approval back in 2009. The work that we're going to do would not affect drainage. It will not affect the traffic study. We don't have any more members. It's about a 350-member church. We're just asking to be excluded. We're not necessarily against what is being done over at 21 and Brewster Road and what they're trying to do there, but we don't feel that this facility ought to be included in that moratorium.
Thank you very much. Mr. Dean, is this your area? Mr. Dean, I believe you got the, let me see. I think you got the floor now.
Okay. And I was actually wanting, I will speak on it, but I was also actually wanting to make a motion to approve it. This whole area is not only on a traffic moratorium, but it's a drainage. It's been under a drainage study from I-12 on the north, 21 on the east, 1077 and kind of a little bit beyond on the west. And we're getting preliminary results back. I did speak to the preacher, Mr. Brian.
Brian, yes.
Yeah, the other day, told him I would sit down with him and chat with him, and what I try to do is try to kind of release some of them as I can as a result of the drainage study, and I do apologize. I mean, the moratorium was pretty far-reaching, but I felt like it was a thing to do at the time, and I'm still convinced of that. But I would like to meet with the preacher, and hopefully possibly by the next month, we can release it. But I'd suggest not to right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You need a motion to introduce? Motion by Mr. Dean, seconded by Mr. Thompson. Item number 3, an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinance by creating a new subdivision. Not the motion to introduce, no. Ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinance by creating a new section relatively to the Parish Road overlay projects. I was the one that had this on here. We do have some amendments. Do you have those amendments? So on everybody's, everybody has a copy of the changes that we were looking to make to this, and I'm going to read them, and then somebody needs to make a motion to put them in. In the title, we should add at the end of projects and say capital road projects. After road overlay projects, we say and capital road projects. And the same thing under procedures and specifications, says relatively to parish overlay projects and capital road projects. And then under the bid specifications for parish road overlay and capital road projects again. And that's changed. And then underneath where it said 15,000, we had reduced that number down to 10,000 vehicles as determined by the use of approved counting methods. Otherwise, type 3 virgin asphalt will be used. Those are the amendments that we have for this ordinance. Need a motion to, I'm sorry, and we struck out the entire section that says, during said 10-day period, the council person may issue a formal request for clarification and/or for a change in said specifications to the procurement office with a copy to the parish president. So you need a motion to introduce. Mr. Smith introduced and seconded by Mr. Tanner. We do have Mr. Jeff Shane that wishes to talk about this.
Thank you, Mr. Stefancic. Good evening. Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm in Covington. I represent Barrier Construction and other members of the asphalt industry community that often bid and do work for you in St. Tammany Parish. I appeared at the Agenda Review Committee meeting last week, having learned of this ordinance the day before when the agenda and ordinance was posted. At the Agenda Review Committee meeting, the suggested amendments by the chair were also offered. And I would suggest to you as a council, as I did to the Agenda Review Committee, that I think this matter is significant and one that bears discussion with the private sector, with the industry that in fact provides these services to you. I understand that the issue this evening is to whether or not the legislation should be introduced. I do not think it's appropriate for me to talk about the substance of the legislation or the issue. But I do think it's appropriate to suggest that before you rush into something and perhaps not know all of the perspectives that might bear on this very important issue, that you take the time and sit down with the constituency and with the providers, the industry itself, because we believe that we have valuable input as well. We understand that it's your desire, as it is our desire, to provide the best product at the best price as it relates to the durability of roads, but also as it relates to the safety of the people that travel on those roads in this parish. So there's some very significant issues, and I would only suggest that if you were to postpone the introduction of the ordinance, it would give us an opportunity, as Mr. Stefancic has previously assured me, to sit down and talk about the details. So for that reason, I request that you consider postponement of introduction this evening. Thank you.
Unless, does anybody else have anything to say? Mr. Shane, it has been introduced, just so you know. It was the motion and a second, otherwise we couldn't have talked on it. So, and it's been introduced, but I told you at the agenda review, we will set up meetings with you and we will meet in the next month, and if we don't get it resolved in a month, we'll meet in 2 months or 3 months, whatever it takes to get the thing resolved. So we will, and then we will end up with something that hopefully will satisfy everybody, and that's where we are. So I will promise you that we will get those meetings held.
Yes, sir. We appreciate that, and I would only suggest that maybe in the future, when those of us wish to speak on a matter, that we be recognized before the matter is moved on and voted upon.
If you want to follow parliamentary procedure, got to have something on the floor to speak about first. They
Yes.
could put a motion on the floor to postpone, you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Nobody did, so it's been introduced.
Yes, sir. I'm only suggesting that maybe after it was amended, perhaps those from the public that wish to speak about whether or not it be postponed have that opportunity. But I understand the rules. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think I skipped over something. We did have to go back and, those amendments that I read need to be, I need a motion to amend, and then we need to vote on that. So on the introduction, we will then go back and vote on the introduction. So I have a motion, Mr. Canulet, seconded by Mr. Belisario. Mr. Bender, you want to talk?
Mr. Chairman, you'd like me to speak now before we vote?
Well,
It's up to you.
The comment is you're going to be speaking on the amendments.
No.
Okay, thank you, I'll wait. Okay, need a motion to, for the amendments to be adopted. Motion by Mr. Tanner, seconded by Ms. Blanchard. Any discussion on the amendments? Please vote with your lights.
Mr. Fitzgerald, did you hit your button again? Okay. Yes. Okay. Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
Okay, now the motion for introduction will be introduced as amended. Motion by Mr. Belisario, seconded by Mr. Tanner. Any further discussion? I'm sorry, we don't need any more discussion. Thank you. Oh. Mr. Bender.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Let me see if I can get you on there.
Okay, I'm on.
Good.
Thank you.
I don't show you as being on up here.
Yeah, I
but
don't
that's
either.
okay.
It doesn't say mic on.
Okay.
But I hear it's on. It's on. Like to make a motion that we all agree my mic's on? It's got to be seconded by Belisario. There's just no question about it. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say this for myself because most of my colleagues on the council, and I think people who have watched or come to council meetings often probably know this about me. I like to ask questions. But I like to do so because I like to get educated on a topic. And while I've asked some questions on this topic when I heard about it, not enough to get to a level where I'm comfortable making some definitive vote next month. So I just want to say to our Director of Public Works, Mr. Shannon Davis, obviously through Ms. Pat, I certainly would like to meet Shannon and discuss this a little bit further. I know we discussed it briefly, okay? And get your views, because I certainly do appreciate the views of, as it pertains to different roads and amount of volume and so forth. Yes, ma'am.
Just have a request to speak
Oh.
when you finish.
Oh, okay. And
You just gave up your floor.
I did?
Yeah, to Ms. Brister.
Go ahead, Madam President.
That's perfectly fine if you want to get some information, but I would request that you speak with Gina Campo. Mr. Davis can be in the meeting also, but she needs to be there.
And in any of those meetings, we will make sure that we go through the proper level of staff to get that, so. Anything else, Mr. Bender? I'll go back to you. Is there anything else?
Yes, sir.
Is your mic still on?
Yes. And on the industry side, so that I can understand viewpoints from both on amount of volume type of asphalt and so forth, I'm certainly willing to meet with whoever, group of people or whatever, to try to hear both sides. The last thing I'll say is the reason I want to get educated on this more, I certainly do understand there's a difference in rural and urban. There's a difference in traffic count, you know, depending on what. I have some very high traffic count streets, but some very low. So I want to be able to make an intelligent vote. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. That one's introduced. Let's go to the next one. Ordinance calendar number, it's number 10, ordinance calendar number 5874 to amend the 2017 operating budget, amendment number 10. Mr. Hernandez. How do I give him the floor? Okay.
Carlo Hernandez. Some of you know I was here at the Agenda Review Committee when this matter was discussed, and the point was made, and I have two questions regarding the $10 million in capital funds. The point was made that these projects have not yet been identified, which I found curious. The $3 million in major street funds, I have to believe that those projects are there now, and I, for one, would like to know which projects these are. You don't have to tell me tonight if you don't want to, but you have my email, and hopefully you can email me the information. The $7 million in minor street funds also was not identified, and we also know that there is a long list of each of the 14 council members regarding all of their projects that they would like. And if in fact, and I'm assuming that the $7 million is following the formula which has been established for a long time regarding that allocation. And I, for one, would like to know what those projects are. At the very least, know what the allocation is for each of the 14 council members with regard to those $7 million. And those are my questions. And of course, you know my email.
I'll answer a little bit of that right now, just so you know. We will be identifying, we're in the process of identifying all those roads, and they will be on the agenda sometime in the future when we approve those as expenditures for each council district. The ones on the administration, we will do the same. So you will get a complete list of it, but we can't go schedule roads and put them in here without having funding available to do them. So that's the process we're in right now, and I think that's the way we do it. I think Ms. Long could attest to that, but we will have that list that comes before the council on a resolution.
May I comment? Well, the ordinance is going to be introduced next month. It's for the $10 million, and so what you're saying is that at the next month's meeting, assuming that you adopt it next month, you will not have by then possibly identified the projects that we're associating with for these $10 million? Is that what?
I will tell you that this is an ordinance. Yeah, we should have, although it comes as a separate item, the naming of the roads. This ordinance has to be in place to provide the funding. Once the funding is provided, then we can go back and put what roads we're going to do in there. And that's a separate thing. That actually is, I think it's a resolution that we put forth on that, which can be adopted the month we put it up. This thing has to pass first.
Yes, sir. I understand the process, and I just hope that by next month that the information that I just requested can possibly be made public. It's certainly, at least to me anyway. Thank you.
I can't guarantee it positively, but I think all 14 of us have had our meetings with Public Works, and I think we're all looking at the roads that with the barn people and the foreman and everything, and Public Works Director and all those, we're looking at what roads in our districts need to be repaired, and I believe that list is being made up today as we speak.
Thank you.
So, thank you. I need a motion to introduce. Motion by Mr. Tanner, seconded by Mr. Belisario. The next one is ordinance count number 11, ordinance count number 5875. It's introduction. I hope. Ordinance count number 5875 to amend Chapter 11 of the Parish Code to create a new section requiring operation of tours on waterways to provide sanitary facilities to customers. And Mr. Shane? You pass?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Mr. Canulette, you put this motion by Mr. Canulette, seconded by Mr. Belisario. We're down to resolutions. Resolution number 1, Resolution CS 4861, resolution requesting that signs be placed at public boat launches in St. Tammany Parish. And I have a note here that says we need to pull it and remove. So this is by Mr. Canulette to pull and remove, seconded by Mr. Belisario. Any discussion on the motion to remove? Please vote.
Mr. Lorino? Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
Resolution number it's number 4, resolution number C4864, a resolution supporting the St. Tammany Parish Hospital Service District number 1, doing business at St. Tammany Parish Hospital, utilizing a property within the boundaries of the St. Tammany Parish Hospital Service District number 2, doing business at St. Tammany Memorial Hospital. I need a motion and a second to get this on the floor. So, motion by Mr. Tanner, seconded by Red. Okay. Mr. Thompson, any discussion? I don't see, Mr. Bender, you have some discussion? Yes. Thank you. Wait a minute. And Mr. Smith, Mr. Tanner, do you have any? No. Mr. Smith, do you have, if I can get you up there. Mr. Smith?
Mine's on, Mr. Chairman.
It's not taking him in. Mr. Smith, you on?
My microphone is still on.
I'm sorry,
Do you want me to?
I'm on now.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We wanted to ask either yourself or the administration or some other party, this joint operating agreement that is included in this resolution is pretty straightforward, but for the sake of the citizens that in those 2 districts, especially in the one over on the eastern end of the parish dealing with St. Slider Memorial Hospital, I think it might be appropriate if we could just kind of give some an overview of what's going on here for their sake and for mine as well, to a certain extent, as it relates to hospital and health services that we are trying to make sure that we deliver, as I appreciate it here in St. Tammany Parish for our citizens. So either the chair or the administration or somebody that can give us an overview of what's going on here between these 2 servicing districts.
Before we do that, I think I'll answer that question. This is 2 hospital service districts and one on the, let's see, 8th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th wards, I think. So whatever they are, it's the eastern side of the parish. And that's Slidell Memorial Hospital, and then we have St. Tammany on the west side.
Right.
These are both Hillburton hospitals,
right.
First of all. So those were built with federal funds rather than a hospital that is owned in private enterprise. The Heart Hospital went into default, and they're trying to use it as a rehab facility for the entire parish, and both hospitals want to be a part of that. So what this is doing, one hospital in the Hillburton thing can't cross into the boundaries of the other. So the Heart Hospital is all in the Slidell Memorial Hospital Service District number 2. Therefore, this resolution gives them the opportunity to work together to utilize the hospital and to get it back into commerce and provide rehab facilities and other kinds of facilities there, with the two hospitals working together to do that. I hope that answers your question.
It does, and I'm sure that would bring a great deal of relief to a lot of people in this parish, especially on both ends, that realized the void that was created when the heart hospital went away. And so with that explanation, it certainly satisfied me, but I'm certain that the people in those service districts have a degree of comfort as well. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Bender?
My thing doesn't say, okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Also, and I think really not only for the council, but more so for the public, okay, to clarify any potential, any possible opportunities for a misunderstanding. This is important, I think, that everyone in the public in both service districts should realize. In this resolution, what is most important is that the Board of Commissioners of Hospital Service District 2, which is Slidell Memorial Hospital's Board of Commissioners, okay, they have adopted a resolution approving Hospital Service District 1's participation in a cooperative endeavor agreement or venture regarding the post-acute care functions at the former Heart Hospital property. Now, they've included, rightfully so, because both hospitals are owned by the public, subject to District 2's right to participate in such cooperative endeavor agreement or venture on terms acceptable to District 2. So I just want to make it clear that obviously it's important to be able to provide the post-acute care functions in this former Louisiana Heart Hospital for that portion of our parish. It happens to fall in Hospital Service District 2's wards. But Hospital Service District 2 in its CEA, and it sounds to me like it's in agreement with both sides, Service 1 and Service 2, they have an agreement that Hospital Service District 2 can participate at any point in time. So this could wind up being a participation between both. It's not a giveaway of a ward, and I just wanted to make that clear, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Steve. I'd like to recognize John Evans, who's in the audience.
It's on. It should be.
Okay.
I'd like to recognize John Evans, who's chairman of the St. Tammany Parish Hospital Board, and James Coy, he's vice chairman of the hospital board, St. Tammany Parish. If they're here to answer any questions y'all have, if you have any more. So we'll give them the opportunity if they would like.
If either of you'd like to come up and speak with John.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Honorable Council. This is a real simple resolution. We've worked real hard to get it. It does exactly what Mr. Bender says. Slidell's agreed, we've agreed, and it's going to be for the betterment of the parish to get that facility back open. And I'm answering any questions that you might have.
Anyone have any questions? I think I hope the way I described it, that's what we're doing with it.
Yes, sir.
So, thank you, Mr. Hold on a minute. I'm trying to get. Is your mic on, Mr. Belisario?
Yes, it is. What I wanted to bring up, several of us that attended the meeting of the alliance that was being formed here. One of the great things about this is not only getting the facility up, they're going to be bringing several hundred jobs from the South Shore over to the North Shore, which is going to be a fantastic employment gain for us.
Yes, so that's correct. We're estimating about 300 new jobs at that facility for the parish. Thank you again so much for consideration.
Thank you. Now I need to call up Jason Akers. Well, I'm on the, wait a minute. You marked it wrong. Okay, sorry, Jason. I mean, I have it on my agenda that says you're going to speak on this, but you're not. We got you somewhere else, okay? Need a motion to approve. Mr. Thompson, seconded by Mr. Tanner. Any discussion? Please vote by your lights. Which one's?
Mr. Smith? Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
Which one is Jason going to be speaking on?
Number 3, I marked the wrong one. I didn't pull it.
Number 3. So we need to go back to item number 3, which we didn't pull, and we approved, but I think, Mr. Akers, if you'll come up and explain what's going on. We've already approved the resolution, but you need to explain what's going on.
Glad to. I guess it doesn't matter what I say at this point.
Oh,
then,
yes, it
right?
would.
Okay.
We may reconsider.
Oh, good point. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jason Akers with Foley and Udell. We serve as bond counsel to Sewage District Number 1, which is asking for your permission to issue revenue bonds secured by existing sewer usage fees. Those bonds would be actually sold to the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality for a term not to exceed 22 years and at an interest rate not to exceed 0.95%. And that's probably just about the best deal we're going to find out there running. They're going to be used to make improvements to the system there within the district. The chairman, Mr. Pete Harris, was here the other day and on Wednesday and actually explained the specifics of what was going to be done. I would not begin to try to do that again because he does a much better job of it than I could. However, tonight, no representatives of the district are here because their meeting is actually taking place right now. They just had what we call their public hearing, their reverse referendum. No one from their district showed up objecting to the issuance of the bonds. So by statute, with your approval and their approval and the State Bond Commission approval, which should take place 2 weeks from today, they'll be authorized to enter into that transaction with the Department of Environmental Quality. If you have any questions, I'm glad to answer them for you.
Anyone have any questions? Thank you. We did approve the resolution.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Number 8, resolution number 4868, resolution to acknowledge the authority pursuant to Home Rule Charter, Section 1-04, 1-06, 3-01, and 3-09 for the Parish of St. Tammany through the Office of Parish President to execute a competitive endeavor agreement with the town of Pearl River for Highway 41 spur bridge replacement. Ward 6, District 6, and District 9. So, Mr. Belisario, you need to turn your, by the way, guys, once I call your name and we punch your button, that's when you need to turn your mic on. Otherwise, you're going to think it's not on. I hope everybody understands that.
I've got that down. I'm okay. On this item, just two minor things. One, it's just strictly District 9. And the other thing, I've asked the administration to see what they can do to expedite the land acquisition. Because when I attend the town of Pearl River meetings for several months in a row, they're asking me and they're asking the mayor to do the best we can to get it going because we're talking the road starting in 2019. And I know Kelly Raveley's been looking at it, so I'm just going to ask her for an update.
This is simply your enacting resolution to enter into the cooperative endeavor agreement, and once that is done, then we will proceed with procuring the services for land acquisition. But I'd be happy to update you along the way as far as when I know a definitive timeline when we close.
All right, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Motion approved by Mr. Belisario, seconded by Mr. Canulette. Any discussion? Mr. Smith, did you? Okay, you've canceled. Okay. Please vote with your lights.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
And item 9, resolution number C4869, a resolution to concur, not concur with Mandeville annexation and rezoning of .791 acres in the Parish HC2 to Mandeville B2, Ward 4, District 10. Ms. O'Brien.
Move to concur.
Motion to concur, seconded by Mr. Smith. Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Under appeals, Ross Christian appealing zoning commission's approval on February 7, 2017 for major amendments to the PUD of 92.61 acres located north of Interstate 12, west of Holiday Square Boulevard, and south of Versailles Subdivision, Ward 3, District 5. Mr. Christian. Mr. Toledano, I'll give you the.
Thank you very much. Turn it on. Thank you. After a lot of hard work by the representatives of Versailles and the developers, I'm happy to report to you that we have a resolution of this. However, because of the time sequence of the community meeting with Versailles, they could not get their resolution of approval. So telling you that it's resolved, but asking that we postpone it to the next meeting in order to allow them to have a formal vote. I would now move to postpone.
Motion by Mr. Toledano, seconded by Mr. Smith. Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Number 2, Jason Van Halen appealing the zoning commission's denial on July 5, 2017 to rezone 1.835 acres on the northeast corner of 6th Avenue and sold from A2 Suburban District to A4A Single Family Residential District, Ward 3, District 5. Is Mr. Jason Van Halen here?
Mr. Stefanski, he's not present.
Okay. Mr. Toledano, you got your.
Turned it on. Good to go. Thank you very much. This one actually is still a work in progress. We have a community meeting coming up with the neighborhood and the developer, so on, in this particular case, and there's some engineering issues that override this. So those things being said, I'm going to move to postpone that one also.
Motion by Mr. Toledano to postpone, seconded by Ms. Lorino. Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, two absent.
Okay, we're going into the ordinances for adoption. Ordinance count number 5843, amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 57.72 acres from A3 and A1 to A3 and A3 and I1, I'm sorry, to A3 and I1, Ward 4, District 5. Yes.
If you'll permit me first, noting that Mr. Marone is in the audience and representing the developer, but breaking the trend in this case, I can tell you that through the good work of Mr. Marone and his client and the very nice people that live in that vicinity, we do have a resolution of that. And prior to my motion to adopt same, I'm going to ask Mr. Marone to make a note of record.
Thank you, Mr. Toledano. My client has had the opportunity to speak on several occasions with the residents that border the west side of the subject property. There was some concern about that boundary, and through those discussions, we've reached an agreement with the residents that has satisfied their concerns. I'd like to put those commitments on the record this evening and let everyone know what they are. Also, to confirm that we'll be following up in a formal document to Ms. Commodore, one of the residents and one of the leaders of that group, to memorialize these items. But my client has agreed to the construction of a 6-foot privacy fence along the common property with Ms. Commodore, Mr. and Mrs. Jacobs, and Mr. McFerrin. He's agreed to plant bamboo trees or other plantings along that property line to create a 10-foot area at the rear of the lots that abut that line where the mature trees will not be removed. And finally, to require or limit the construction of the homes along that property line to single-story. With those commitments on our part, the residents are satisfied. We are very satisfied with the resolution we reached. We were glad we were able to satisfy their concerns, and we would respectfully request your moving on with the ordinance tonight, and we thank Mr. Toledano for his efforts in getting us together.
That having been said, Mr. Stefanczyk, I'm going to move for the adoption.
Second, move for Mr. Toledano, moved by Mr. Toledano, seconded by Mr. Lorino. Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Ordinance count number 5844, amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 57.72 acres from A3 and I1 to A3, I1, and PUD, Ward 4, District 5. Push your button there, Rickard. Okay.
Thank you. I presume that this is a companion ordinance to the one that we have just discussed, and for the same reasons so stated, I'll move for the adoption.
Motion by Mr. Toledano, seconded by Mr. Lorino. Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Ordinance calendar number 5847 to extend for 6 months the moratorium on property south of Interstate 12, north of Highway 190, and east of Highway 11, and east of Precinct S19, boundary line, Ward 9, District 14.
Move to adopt.
Motion by Mr. Smith to adopt, seconded by Mr. Belisario. Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Ordinance count number 5848, an ordinance to amend the 2017 operating budget, amendment number 9. A motion by Mr. Tanner, seconded by Mr. Smith. Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
The next item, ordinance count number 5849, ordinance adopting and enacting a 2017 code of ordinances. I have a note that says we want to postpone. And this, I think, is the big book we're talking about with all our ordinances in it. So I need a motion to postpone. And maybe I should ask, when should we postpone this to? Because I don't think it's going to be ready next month, right? It has to go through planning and everything else, right?
This is Municode. It has to go through planning and zoning.
Okay.
Go to planning and zoning in November, probably October and November.
So postpone to December?
At least December.
At least, well, we can look at it again in December if we need to postpone it farther. Motion by Mr. Belisario to postpone, seconded by Mr. Canulette. Mr. Tanner, do you want to speak? No, Mr. Hand, do you want to speak?
So Sydney,
There you go.
Sydney,
Yeah, turn your mic on.
when is the meeting in November? The zoning commission meeting, they meet before the council meets, correct?
Yes.
So
Zoning
we-
does, but planning doesn't.
No, planning's meeting a month early.
There's a 10-day appeal period.
So we can adopt it subject to somebody appealing.
Well, we'll look at that in December. I think we've postponed it to December, right? That's the earliest we would get to look at everything. I mean, is there something different you ought to think we ought to do? Go ahead.
I believe you can adopt it in November, but if you want to wait till December, I mean, we'll wait this long. That's up to the council to determine.
So if there's a 10-day waiting period for an appeal.
Correct.
That would put
So
it
if
beyond
nobody,
that time. So-
right, we can adopt it. If somebody appeals, we'll have to bring it back up.
Right now, it's postponed to, we're voting on to postpone to December, unless somebody wants to withdraw their motion and change it. Seeing none, please vote.
Mr. Tanner? Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 5851, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 1 acre from A1 and RO to A1 RO and MHO, Ward 2, District 3. Motion by Mr. Thompson, seconded by Mr. Fitzgerald. Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Number 7, ordinance calendar number 5852, ordinance to amend the official parish zoning map to reclassify 12.5 acres from A1 to A2, Ward 3, District 2. Motion by Mr. Fitzgerald, seconded by Mr. Thompson. Any discussion? Please, any discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 5853, amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 1.74 acres from A2 to A3, Ward 6, District 11. Motion by Mr. Thompson, seconded by Ms. Blanchard. Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Number 9, ordinance calendar number 5844, amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 1 acre from A1 to A1 and MHO, Ward 2, District 3. Motion by Mr. Thompson, seconded by Mr. Lorino. Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion was unanimous, one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 5855, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify .42 acres from A1 to A4 and MHO, Ward 7, District 7. Motion by Mr. Groby, seconded by Mr. Tanner. Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 5856, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 9.84 acres from A1 to A1A, Ward 2, District 6. Motion by Mr. Tanner, seconded by Mr. Thompson. Any discussion? Please vote.
Mr. Belisario? Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
Number 12, item 12, ordinance calendar number 5877, amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 98.62 acres from PUD to A2 and PUD, Ward 4, District 4. Motion by Mr. Lorino, seconded by Mr. Toledano. Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
Item number 13, ordinance calendar number 5858, ordinance amending parish zoning map to reclassify 90.62 acres from PUD to A2, Ward 4, District 4. Motion by Mr. Lorino, seconded by Mr. Thompson. Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 14, ordinance calendar number 5859, amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 4.03 acres from A3 to A3 in MHO Ward 7, District 7. Motion by Mr. Groby, seconded by Mr. Tanner. Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
Item number 15, ordinance calendar number 5860, or to declare multiple tax adjudicated properties on surplus and authorize sale of each. Motion by Mr. Belisario, seconded by Mr. Lorino. Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 5861, amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 1 acre from NC2 to HC2 and NC1, Ward 4, District 10. Motion by Mrs. O'Brien, second by Mr. Tanner. Any discussion? Mr. Bellis, well, let me see if I can get you up there. Wait a minute. Mr. Lorino, you're next in line. If I can get you up there. Oh, you were second. I'm sorry. I'll give it to Mr. Belisario.
He was second.
I was second. So
Clear the floor. Okay. Seeing no further discussion, please vote. All these names come up. I want to make sure I don't miss anybody.
Go back to that refreshing course.
You got a lot of support.
Mr. Lorino. Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 5862 to declare a lot in Eden Isles subdivision as surplus property and to authorize the private sale, public auction, and disposal of said property, Ward 9, District 13.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Blanchard, seconded by Mr. Belisario. Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 5863 to authorize the parish president to enter into a cooperative endeavor agreement and restatement of lease with the Roman Catholic Church for a portion of Safe Haven Campus, Ward 4, District 7. Motion by Mr. Groby, seconded by Mr. Bender. Any discussion? You want to discuss? No. Motion, please vote. You weren't fast enough, Mike.
Mr. Dean. Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
Under discussion and other matters, a motion to refer to zoning commission for recommendation the proposed rezoning of a parcel of land in section 40, township 8, south, range 12 east, municipal address of 27188 Sycamore Drive, from A3 Suburban District to A3 Suburban District in MHO, Ward 7, District 7. Motion by Mr. Groby, seconded by Mr. Tanner, and we have Mr. Hernandez. Have you got calculated how much?
Yes, thank you. Caller Hernandez. I have calculated this, as a matter of fact. And
I knew it.
As you can see, it is A3, which generally means one residence per 1/2 acre. In fact, this this parcel is a little less than 1/2 acre. I can give you the exact square footage if you like, but I will forego that, and I see the thing is still stuck at 259, which I like. It is...
Wait a minute, and I'll move it down to 1 minute.
I'll just say that it is I estimate that it's $341.77 is what you're about to say that the parish does not need to collect. And again, I would hope that we're not going to do this any more times this year. I hope, because as we well know, this parish is in need of funds, and I would think that the $341 plus is something that would be needed and could be used in various capacities. So I would hope that this was the last time this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Mr. Groby, let me see if I can get you on there. Okay.
Mr. Hernandez, I have a question for you, sir. Do you know the particulars of why I've referred this to zoning?
The particulars?
Mm-hmm.
I know who it involves, but the particulars
It
besides...
involves a widow whose home burned down, who doesn't quite have enough insurance, and she's trying to have to downsize. Thank you.
Okay. Don't know that that would change your position, right?
Well, I would be glad to contribute the $341 if others would do so also, because, you know, I'm sure that everyone, you know, has a story like this, and, you know, they're
Wrap it up. Your
There, but
time's
for the
running
grace
out.
of God, go
Thank
you
you.
or I, Carlo. Remember that.
Thank you, Mr. Groby, and thank you, Mr. Okay. Notice of meeting. The next item is, we need to approve this. I'm sorry. Motion to approve, seconded. Yeah, we need to vote. Belisario seconded.
Mr. Groby? Mr. Belisario, you hit your button again? Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
Okay. We have a notice of a public meeting. Notice is hereby given at the meeting to be held on Thursday, November 2nd, 2017, at 6 p.m. in the council chambers of the Parish Government Complex, 21490 Coop Drive, Mandeville, Louisiana. The Parish Council of the Parish of St. Tammany, State of Louisiana, plans to consider adopting a resolution ordering and calling an election to be held within the Parish of St. Tammany, State of Louisiana, to authorize the levy of sales and use tax. And this is the notice of the public meeting to be held that night. That's the same night as our council meeting, so it will be held right prior to our council meeting. Now I have for items off the floor, we have one. I'm going to ask the resolution to establish performance and warranty obligations. I need somebody to move to bring this off the floor. Motion by Mr. Thompson, seconded by Mr. Canulet. Any discussion on the motion to bring off the floor? Remember, it requires a unanimous vote. Yes. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
Thank you. Now I got the resolution. Whoops. A resolution to establish performance and warranty obligations. And that's it. That's the heading. And I think if you read through this, there's one that we're releasing and 4 that we're extending. I think that's right, or 5 that we're extending. 4. And anyone have any questions or anything? We got the motion on the floor. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
Okay, does anyone have anything else for items off the floor? Mr. Dean? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. That was the unanimous motion. Let's go back to that item. I need a motion to adopt. Motion by Mr. Thompson and seconded by Mr. Canulet. Okay, now we'll vote.
Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
Okay, that completes our agenda. We go to items off the floor. Mr. Dean, Mr. Fitzgerald, Mr. Thompson, Mr. Lorino, Mr. Toledano, Ms. Blanchard, Mr. Tanner, Mr. Groby, Mr. Canulet, Mr. Belisario, Ms. O'Brien, Mr. Bender, Mr. Smith. Anything from staff? Anything from our staff? Anything from the administration?
No.
Seeing none, meeting is adjourned.